be recording these, so if you do not want to be recorded, if you just want to turn off your screen, that way then your face isn't recorded.
And we are being recorded now.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I see it. Great. Thank you, Your Excellency. Who's in the shadows. Okay, so for those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Catherine de Kropser. I am part of the Newcomers Academy Committee. We have a couple of our other committee members on this evening. I know that Nadia is, you can see her flapping behind Twill. And we have Twal, who is also our baronial hospitaller. So there's Twill and Nadia. And then Ricky, oh, I almost said his mundane name. Oh my goodness. So Ratio.
It helps if everybody changes their name to their SCA name. Just saying. There we go.
There we go. Ratio. He's our seneschal, and he's also still on our committee. And then, oh, Genevieve of Hellsgate is on. So that's our committee. So anyways, thanks guys. I'm very excited. This is was supposed to be our last class, but it's not our last class. It's our second to last class now. Our last class is going to be September 14th. It is, and I'll remind y'all again, but it's on heraldry and award recommendations, so it's going to be different than tonight's class. A couple other things just really quickly. During tonight's class you might get a message from me because I am trying to go through attendance of all the classes to see who's been with us the entire time, because we do I am tracking it for graduation, which is going to be at our virtual event on October 3rd, which again we'll talk a little bit more about these in the announcements at the end. But if you get a private message from me, that's what I'm doing during the class. So without further ado, I am very excited to introduce tonight's teacher, Mistress Myfanwy. She is a staple here in Bryn, Gwlad, a wealth of knowledge and information, and she's going to be talking to you about awards and court. So Mistress Myfanwy, take it away.
Hi guys, so I have it on my first PowerPoint who I am, but I'm going to go ahead and just tell you before I start my PowerPoint. So I have lived in the Barony of Bryn Gwlad for about 25 years. I started, well no, actually about 28 years, I don't know, somewhere in there, a while. I started in 1992. I was the 8th Baroness of Bryn Gwlad with my husband, Master Pug. I'm a member of the Order of the Drag of Bryn, which is the polling order for our barony. We'll talk more about that later. And I'm also a member of the Order of the Pelican. In addition to doing a lot of service, I have also done a lot of arts and sciences. So
looks like we lost her.
And that is a great thing to
she has frozen up.
Do we want to do a mulligan on the recording?
You mean like stop and start over?
Yep.
No, we definitely want to keep that face for posterity.
I could pause it.
Hey, no one can hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, if you can pass it.
Yay. Okay, so anyways, I've done kind of almost everything. That's where I was. So without any further ado, I guess I'll try to share my screen. Gotta be. Of course, I haven't set that up because I didn't realize I had to. Sorry, guys. Apparently I didn't have as much as I thought I needed. All right, just a moment.
This is when you interject with interesting jokes or things that you've done that were fun during the day.
I am Bryn. I am I've been SCA adjacent for a while and been to several events because Gavin bugged me and I decided it looked like fun. And I like to stab things from a distance. So when we get to be in person again, I will be out of archery. And I have right now 2 dogs and a cat and a husband, and it's a full house.
Hi, everyone. I'm John. I run the Cooks Guild and the trained band. So, hello.
Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Marie. Thanks for joining us. Reintroduce yourself, but she doesn't have her microphone, so everyone go read Marie's introduction.
Hi, Marie.
Howdy, howdy. Oh, and I
Oh,
probably
these
haven't introduced.
people.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, pardon me. Oh, and I don't think I've introduced myself. I'm Antonio de Saforza. Arrivederci. I'm a Rennie for the past few years who's been SCA adjacent for a while out in the Kingdom of Ottenvelt, and I've been traveling the ethereal plane to come to all of the different schoolings and to become a scholar of the world of the SCA before I'm able to actually join in person again. And yeah, so I've just been popping my head in every Zoom class or every YouTube class that I can find.
Okay, so this is, have you been able to do a lot with Atenvelt or Ottenvelt?
Not as much. We have
Okay.
a couple of courts. I've been to those. We have very little in the way of actual like classes right now. I know that immediately after this, I'm popping over to the virtual fighter practice page to do to watch one of our more senior dukes do a Q&A thing there. And
Nice.
That's awesome. Because I don't know, I think Colfina might have already been following my thought process and laughing at it. I think last time we had somebody from Glenabin who, and I don't remember how they said it, but basically we learned that maybe all of Onstjora might be saying the kingdom's name wrong, or at least the name wrong from everyone in the southern part of Glenabin. I think it might be the French influence. I don't remember how.
I don't remember
I
how
admit,
they
I'm
say
kind
it.
of curious how they did say it.
It
All
was-
right, I think
Oh, it was Glenabon.
Oh
Glenna
yeah.
Vaughn.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say it
I
that
haven't
way.
either.
Interesting.
I've also
All right.
never heard Ottenvelt.
I've heard Ottenvelt. Okay.
Oh no.
oh,
Maybe. All right.
Oh wait. Oh no, it's just a screen share. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
All right. Here we go. So, we already went through this screen. So, court. This is a picture of a court. Actually, it was kind of an awesome picture that I found because it has so many people on here. And so, when you're new, this is kind of overwhelming because you see all these people going, okay, what is this all about? And so in this picture of the court, we have the prince and princess over on the far left-hand side of the picture.
Oh, no. No.
Did I freeze again?
You did.
Because
You're
I
back.
see, I'm back? Okay. So where did I freeze? I'm gonna turn off my.
On the prince and princess.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So you have the prince and princess. You have Pug and myself as the baron and baroness. Behind the thrones, you'll see lots of different people. You'll see the heralds that are usually somewhere towards the middle, trying to be able to project. So you'll have heralds. You'll have the champions. So all of the stuff that's going back behind, don't stress about it, because that's not, that's for much later when you have had a lot of experience. The people sitting in the chairs, those are the ones you care about, right? So that's kind of the big thing. Is like, just don't worry about the attendance, don't worry about the champions, don't worry about any of that. That's court. Is worry about people who's sitting in the front. Okay, does that kind of make sense? Okay. All right, so what do they do at court? At court, they give awards. Every single edition is given by the crown. That includes things like the duchy and the county, because although, yes, you receive it because you did something on your own, the crown is the one who still bestows that award upon you. Most of our awards are based on recommendations, which is why it's very important to learn how to write award recommendations, because the crown can't be everywhere. Even the baron and baroness can't be everywhere. So we rely on the popular. You can write an award recommendation for everything but the county, the duchy, the rose. Everything else you can write to the crown. If it's something high, they may run that by somebody else, but they still want to hear your words. The more times that they hear from people what this person has done, the better they're going to have an idea of what to award that person with. So if you got called up into court, you're going to approach the crown. As you can, some of us are more. You bow before you enter the presence area, and then you bow. Am I frozen? Am I good? Am I still good?
Somebody
Can hear you.
Little choppy.
Okay, little choppy. Okay. So you bow when you enter the presence area, and then if there's a king and queen and the baron and baroness, if the baron and baroness called you, you're going to bow to the king and queen, but you're going to go to the baron and baroness's area. You need to acknowledge the baroness, so maybe not a bow, but a slight curt response, and go to the king and queen, because you're still, it depends on how you feel. If you love that baron and baroness, for example, you would definitely do that. If in our kingdom, when somebody is called into court and they don't have an escort, many times people are going to insist that an escort has to happen. If you're not comfortable with that, if for some reason you just don't feel comfortable with a stranger coming up to you, or it's just that you feel like this is something you need to do, just gracefully decline the escort, and continue to go forward. You don't have to have the escort, and this is something that I want to remind people, but it's also part of the fun. Remember, we're playing a chivalric game, and so part of the fun is that we have that escort. So also remember that. So be gracious if you are going to decline. When you get to the front, yes, they're very pretty. They have very pretty embroidery. They have very pretty applique. They're still there for kneeling on. Please kneel on the pillows. Trust me, it's frustrating when you have these pretty pillows that people are to kneel on so that they don't hurt their knees and they don't use them. So please kneel on the pillows. Be as gracious as you can. Your first time up, you're going to be nervous. Your 8th time up, you're probably going to be nervous. It doesn't really change. It's okay to be nervous. They like it to see that you're happy about the award. They're going to talk to you. They're going to tell you why you're receiving whatever you're receiving. Usually for your very first event, and they would call all the newcomers forward. If it's a large group of people, you don't have to kneel, you don't have to use the pillows. If you can't kneel, if for some reason you have bad knees, bad hips, bad back, and you cannot kneel, just quietly let whoever called you know, I can't kneel. And they'll go, that's fine, please don't, because nobody wants you to be hurt. If for some reason it's going to called into court, it will make you anxious and you'll just be upset for the rest of the event. Let people know. The Newcomers Academy is a great place to be. Your friends, let people know so that if you are to get an award and they hear about it, they know to let the crown know that please don't call them to court, or can I, you know, or if you know that it's going to make you better to be told ahead of time, okay, I'm going to let them know that they're going to be called into court. Let people know if there's things that make you make the occurrence less pleasant for you. Best as you can, how to make it happier for you. Okay. Are there any questions about court, called into court, anything along those lines?
I see a question in chat from Antonio.
What is the policy on wearing dress swords? The policy of wearing dress swords and daggers on the belt. So in Osceola, we actually don't insist that you take stuff off, hold over. However, it is definitely part of the court ambiance. If you have a dress sword, to take it off and make sure you show to the crown that you are disarming yourself because you're not approaching as a foe, but as a friend. So in Osceola, it's really a mixed thing in Osceola on that. For the most part, I admit that my other persona is mom. Knife. I'm not really necessarily going to take it off unless it's a crown I have already broken bread and salt with. But if I'm playing my Welsh persona, I have a nice, pretty little inconsequential knife that is sharp enough, but isn't going to be taken off either. But I don't have a court sword. Orazio, you wear a court sword sometimes. What is your feeling on it? Yes, I'm throwing you on. Is he there?
He's still in the house. I don't know if he's at his computer. I can yell at him.
Yeah. Twill, do you ever wear a court sword?
Unmute. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, occasionally I have worn a court sword. A little bit depends on the crown and how well I know them and the attitude of the court that's happening. I mean, if it's a field side court or something and I just happen to have a weapon on me, there's a chance that just stays at my side. But
step away for just 1 second.
If we're in a more formal court, then I would generally take mine off going in.
So it's just the
Since I don't normally wear court
swords and daggers.
Yeah. Do you take it off or do you leave it on, or does it depend?
It depends. If you leave it on, it's not going to be an issue so long as you're approaching graciously. There's sometimes, and it frequently happens with more established members, where it gives the champions or the royals or the whoever is hosting the court a chance to sort of play up the pomp, where the champion will demand that you remove your sword before you approach whoever is holding court. But it's not going to be an issue, especially if you have it sheathed or whatever. Tons of people, especially who are doing Saxons or Vikings, will have their sacks hanging from their front, and nobody's going to ask them to remove it. So you can, and no one's going to make a deal about it. you can't, and nobody's going to make a deal about it.
So pretty much exactly what I said. I just kind of was like, well, I don't really normally wear a sword, so I'm going to ask those that might.
Okay, I have a question, and I mean, I've been playing long enough. I probably should know the answer to this, but I've heard that once you have your AOA, that's giving you the right to have arms that you can then carry arms into the presence of the crown. Is that true, or is that just rumor that I've heard in the past?
That is accurate as far as one of the interpretations. I mean, it does say the right to bear the word of arms, and it is the right to bear arms, as it were. So yes, that is accurate. Ansira doesn't really play up on that shtick as much. Ansira also doesn't require you to have an AOA to wear a circlet, right? So Ansira kind of lets some of that, is a little looser than other kingdoms. Other kingdoms will be very strict. If you don't have an AOA, you are not to wear metal on your head, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. And if you don't have an AOA, you must take off all of your weapons before you come. Up more. So that's kind of, it's one of those, yes, but we don't really do that much here. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So next one. So we have, sorry, once I went past. So we have our, our crowns and coronets, which I keep going past this slide. So the reason that people will get, if ever get, it's kind of the easiest ones to see when people are dressed up for court. So that's why I'm kind of starting off with crowns and coronets, because you're going to see a metal hat on somebody's head and you're going to know, oh, that's kind of cool. And so I want people to kind of understand what they are. So if you have a crown, if you've been crowned, if you've been crowned for twice, you have your duchy. If you've been crowned once, you have your county. And I put Vicounty under crown as well because they are royal family, because they're the consort of a principality that does not become a king, of a principality. So in Ansira, we don't have any principalities at this point in time. So we don't have many examples. If you look at our OP, there's very few Vicounties, but we are potentially going to have a principality soon. So it'd be somebody who was sovereign and consort of a principality, and so they're a prince and princess if we're doing male, female gender, but any hat, Bryn hat. So His Excellency Gavin is Gwlad's current landed baron. Again, you don't have to have male, female. You can have same gender. And then you have the court baronial hats, which can be because they like you. There's different reasons for those, but you see them because they're hats on people's heads. So let's look at some examples. Different kingdoms have different designs. Ansira has, I think, 4 sets. Oh, this is, I'm sorry, crown, because they have lots. And also, as you can sort of tell from these 4 pictures, they look different. Each kingdom has a different look. I chose these 4 kingdoms because these are our 4 kingdoms of Gulf War. And so most likely if you go to an out of kingdom event, it will be Gulf War. And so these are the ones you were likely to see. The sovereign and the consort are king and queen if they choose. They can also choose to be if you're just talking to them, as your majesty, can I please have your attention? That's the way you would address them. Ultimately though, as long as you're polite, even a king and queen, if you say, excuse me, my lord, my lady, or good gentles, if they're rude, they have had a bad day, and go talk to one of their entourage members because they should not have been rude to you. Everybody is a good gentle, my lord, my lady, all of us deserve that respect. If you give them that level of respect, that is good enough. I'm going to say this repeatedly. All these people were newcomers once, and they are just people. They have bad days, but when they have those hats on, they shouldn't be having a bad day. And if they do, please talk to somebody so that we can talk to their majesties so that they know that they're not being as gracious as they ought to be. So, oh, this did not turn out right with this kind of form. Huh. Well, we're missing a picture. I'm missing a picture here. All right, so people and consort, duchy. We can discern a duchy by the fact that they have strawberry leaves on the hats. So I was supposed to have one more underneath the words, but apparently that went away. But you can see on the top right, there's a clear strawberry leaf and actually little strawberries. And then on the bottom right, there's some small strawberries. I'm sorry, bottom left is some small strawberries. And then on the, on the picture that strawberry leaf on the very top. The strawberry leaves are the biggest symbol for the duchy. When you're wanting to get their attention, your grace, our duke, there are duchess. There are also other terms, but those are the most common terms.
Keen on the bottom right?
It is Keen, yes.
That is an old picture of him.
Actually, that's not a very old picture of him. That's actually a fairly recent picture of him.
Is it really?
Yeah. So, but yes, that is Keen. It's actually Evagardus. Who we have here. I mean, I'll tell people who we have if you care. All right, county coronets. So county coronets, you can discern them because they have crenellations. So, and are embattlements, if you'd rather call them embattlements. And they're for people who have been crowned only once. And I have only the consorts on these pictures, but that's okay. So you kind of can see examples of different kinds of crenellations. They don't have to be straight up and down. They can have a crenellation at a point. The one that's on the far right-hand side, you can actually see her three. You can see a little three that's in between the crenellations. That's also because she's also a court baroness, so she can actually have points and pearls too. So that's actually symbolizing her points in her hat. So as I said, I don't have any Vicounty Coronet pictures. I was trying to get one from somebody, but they didn't get it to me in time for this class. They're for people who ruled over for both the winner and the consort. I mean, I said that becoming sovereign and consort, and I realized that's not really quite the same. It doesn't matter how many times you've been a viscount. It doesn't change. You don't get to move up to a count coronet or anything like that. It doesn't matter how many times you've been a viscount. The viscount is the same number of times, or same hat, no matter how many times they've rolled. Each kingdom has their own rules on design. As we were talking in the before the meeting started, hat is frequently symbolized by having a single point in the front, but that is not universally universally the case. So kind of take it slow and recognize that there might be some slight variations on that. All right, landed baronial hats. So these are actually all the baronial hats you'll see in Gwlad, because I wanted to make sure everybody got to see those because that's where we are. So landed barony. honor our current Baron and Baroness, so they're the center picture. They still hold these lands for their majesties, and they, you know, if their majesties say, well, I want it to be this way, that way has to happen. So primarily, there's not a lot of difference between a landed baronial hat and Ansiora, because again, there's some differences in baronial hats and Ansiora, but there's not a lot of differences in landed baronial hat requirements versus court baronial hats. The biggest difference is that on group, and you actually even the Black Star is no longer the case. You can use elements of the group. So, for example, the one on the far right-hand side, which unfortunately we can't see very well, but that the details of that has the dragons from the Barony of Gwlad, and also the baronial shield, heraldry. And then the ones that are on the far left-hand side, they have the cross halberds in on the panels. So that's that's one of the things. It's points and pearls. To see from points and pearls, they can have the point in the center, or you can have the points off to the sides. And that's true for both landed and court baronial hats. And just because you see court, so again, here's some, here's some court baronial hats. These people all have court baronies. The bottom left-hand picture, you can see that they are not, this hat is not limited to 6. That's because he's grandfathered in. But you can see that you can have flat caps. Pretty common, just in our kingdom. It doesn't, but you can have flat, you can have points and pearls, you can have leather, you can have metal, it doesn't matter. And on Ansiora, previous landed baron and baronesses can have a black star on the front panel to show that they had been landed baron and baronesses, even though they're now a court baron. And so the bottom right was an example of that. Does that make, does everybody understand the hats? That's kind of where we're at this point.
Would you say it's fair to say it's not a big deal to not be able to tell certain hats apart?
Yes, it is very much not a big deal to not be able to tell the certain hats apart. If I have somebody approach me and say, "Oh, Your Grace," I will politely say, "Actually, thank you so much for that honor, but I'm actually only Her Excellency, but how can I help you?" If you say, "Your Excellency," to Her Majesty, she's going to say, "Yes, how can I help you?" Because ultimately, she's all of them at this point in time. And so, yes, it is perfectly okay to not recognize the hat. Treat each other with respect. That is what we want. So yes, please don't stress about going, "Oh, that's a county hat. Oh, I need to do," don't stress about it. Oh, that's what I didn't say. For counties, their title, like if you want to address them other than Count so-and-so, if you want to get their attention, Your Excellency is the way to get their attention along with the baronial hats. But again, if you say Your Excellency to a Duke and Duchess or to Her Majesty or His Majesty, they're those titles too, and it's perfectly okay. They may say, "Thank you so much," and "Oh, by the way," somebody telling you, "Oh, how dare you." And if they sound like they said, "Oh, how dare you," please come and find me, because I will have a word with them. I'm not afraid of anybody. Any other questions or points that I have forgotten to cover? Okay. So peerages. Peerages are the only awards that are exactly universal throughout the society, except for dukes and duchesses, except for dukes and counties. Duchies and counties are also universal, but these are the only pelican of, and if I'm a pelican in the society. I'm not a pelican in Ansiora. I mean, I am in Ansiora and I'm a pelican, but I'm not a pelican for Ansiora. I am a pelican who happens to live in Ansiora. And that's a big thing to remember. So we have 4 peerages, and we have a 5th one that in Untitled isn't a peerage, but it kind of is treated like one. So we're going to talk about them. So and they're the highest award, right? Because this is the biggest thing. We have our chivalry, and it's for armored fighting. Sections of the chivalry. You have your knights, which is what we all know of. We all know that knights are the people who go and they fight and they are chivalric. And in Untitled, or in the society, we recognize them by the fact that they wear a white belt, they wear an unadorned chain, and in court, not usually on the field, well, definitely not on the field, but at court, a lot of them will wear spurs. We also have Master of Arms, and they wear a white baldric, and I actually don't remember if they can wear spurs or not. But they don't wear the chain. That's a big okay, because I can wear spurs. So Master of Arms, they wear a white baldric, they can wear spurs, but they don't wear an unadorned chain. And the reason why they don't wear an unadorned chain is that chain is the symbol of the fealty that the knights swear to the crown. So only the knights can wear that unadorned chain. In the society, the only protected color of belt is the white belt. You can wear any other color. There are things that happen when you wear other colors, but the only one that is protected is white. So if you want to
What do you mean by protected, Myfanwy?
You want to wear red? Thank you, Ratsu. So protected. In the society, we have some symbols that are for only that order. So in the Society for Creative Anachronisms, the white belt should only be worn by a knight. Does that make sense? Does that answer?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. I was like, good point. So don't wear a white belt. Yes, Antonio.
And sorry for butting in. I'm always interested in the Master of Arms topic, especially because in our kingdom we're really not as accepting of that. So whenever I can look into it, I ask about it. The reason that I ask though is because I've seen, and this might vary from kingdom to kingdom, but the reason that I ask is because I've seen multiple knighting ceremonies of masters that have been posted to YouTube and whatever, and at least in a lot of them, they're either given the option to swear, and if at that point they do, they have a chain put on their neck like they would a knight, or they're typically handed a chain. So if you want to swear at some point in the future, you're allowed to wear it for as long as you are in fealty. But when you're not, because you have the option to swear, if you're not in fealty, you don't. But from everything that I've seen, in the event that they actually want to be in fealty at that particular point, they've been authorized to wear it. I don't know if that's kingdom specific or not, but it's
okay. I think so. So the answer to that, Antonio, is that it's kind of nuanced in Untitled. Untitled doesn't really like to do Master of Arms. There have been very few made in our kingdom. If they're being made, the crown is actually and so that's how determined. And in our kingdom, in our OP, it states that they're a knight versus a Master of Arms, because they have to, I thought it was universal, and I'd actually have to research that on if it's a society thing or a kingdom thing. Maybe Robert might know, because he is a knight, so maybe. So I'm hoping he might respond. But in our, we actually have people say, no, I am no longer a knight. And it's not necessarily because they can't swear fealty, or even that they are upset with the crown, because many of our Master of Arms during coronation ceremony will come up and give a toast to our crown. So it's not even necessarily that they're upset with the crown or anything. It's just that they feel that they are no longer being able to hold the path of a knight and the teaching and being active on the field because they're injured or whatever. So that seems to be primarily what we have in our kingdom. And so Master of Arms in our kingdom is a very touchy subject, unfortunately, because we come from Ottenveld. So it's a little touchy in our kingdom. I thought it was a society thing, but maybe it's a kingdom thing on farms. I'm gonna write that down because I'm curious, but I don't know. So I don't know actually that answer about if they can easily go swear fealty and then be able to wear their chain, or if they have to kind of declare their swearing fealty. Does that make sense?
Thank you for giving all your perspective on that.
Yeah.
I'm like the one person in Atenveld who actually, the one newcomer from Atenveld that's actually interested in that particular award because of everything that's happened. So I'm trying to, so I always pick brains about it. My apologies for derailing.
Right. Oratio, isn't the difference of swearing to the society through the crown versus swearing directly to the sovereign? I guess I'm not quite understanding your question.
Well, I guess it would be the, because each of the peerages will swear their oath, but the chivalry has a very specific oath that is directed towards the sovereign, whereas the peerages swear to uphold the society during the sovereign's reign.
Some of it difference of what the oath is. Well, for some crowns, the difference is what the oath is. So that all the newcomers kind of understand, the peers have the option to go and swear fealty to the crown of Ansur at every coronation. The knights don't have that option. They are to go and swear fealty as soon as they can. That is their requirement because they are a knight. They are in constant fealty. The laurel, the master of the laurel, the master of defense, and the master of but that's a whole, we technically have those options. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So yeah, some of it is how do we swear fealty? So the knights swear a fealty not just to the kingdom, but really to the individuals also as they are sitting up there. While the other peerages swear an oath to the kingdom, and it doesn't really matter who's underneath that hat.
Robert also gave some flavor to it, saying that there's two oaths that a knight or MOA can give: the kingdom oath to the crown, and then Robert, is it the same thing for a master of arms? Is it like both a knight or a master of arms then can choose to give the personal oath to that king, or is it like the master of arms who has a choice?
I'm pretty certain that the master of arms has a choice because they are not required to swear fealty. They don't even.
They both do.
Right.
I'm going to defer to Robert in all of this.
Right. So everybody has a choice. Well, okay, the knights don't have a choice. The knights have to swear an oath. Everybody else has a choice on what level of oath they're and a little more the nitty-gritty nuances. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I'm like, that's a nuance thing that kind of gets a little weird. Okay, so we have two kinds of chivalry. Knights are going to wear a white belt. They're going to wear an unadored chain. They're going to wear spurs. Master of arms, you're going to see a white baldric. So it's going to go across from shoulder to hip. They can wear spurs. Those are kind of the big things with the chivalry. The laurels, they are, and I put these. This is the order that the peerages were created. So we had our chivalry people first. We had our laurels. Those are the people who do arts and sciences. You do not necessarily, just like you don't get a laurel you don't get a laurel for Ansur, you get a laurel for society. You don't really get a laurel in a specific art form. You get a laurel for arts and sciences that has a special art form that you focused on. Laurels wear laurel wreaths. They can either wear them as a symbol on coat. They can wear it as hats. They get laurel wreaths. The only other people that can have laurel wreaths would be the crown prince. Well, the crown prince and princess and baron and baroness can have them if they're part of the heraldry that they are wearing for their group. Otherwise, if it's just a laurel wreath, that's a laurel. Pelicans are given for service. They wear a pelican piercing her breast, and it's her breast because she's feeding the babies after she killed them. But anyway, she's feeding the babies. So those are the things that are reserved for the pelican. The master of defense, oh, I forgot to put the three, that's for our rapier fighting. That was created most recently. They wear a white collar, and they have a symbol, which is what I forgot to put, a symbol of 3 swords crossing at the tip. The last peerage I put this as a peerage because some kingdoms recognize this as a peerage. It's the Order of the Rose, and that's for being the consort who sat the throne, the kingdom throne. Ansiura has 1 male or Elthamar has 1 male Order of the Rose. So we've had two women win crowned by their own right. We also have, I say that, we also have 2, that's actually not fair because we also have an East Kingdom. We'll be having a new male Order of the Rose because it was same gender, and also North Keep, not
North Shield.
North Shield, I was like, not North Keep, that's our barony. North Shield also had same gender crown not too recently. So we actually have 4 members of the Order of the Rose. Like I was saying, in Ansiura, it does not give you a peerage, but other kingdoms do. For example, the East Kingdom does. So I put this here because it's sort of a peerage, and they get to wear a wreath of roses. So don't wear a wreath of roses. You can have a rose. That is not protected. That does not define you as a rose, but a wreath of roses is for them. Are there questions about the peerages? How am I doing on time? Okay.
Just real quick for clarification, I was always under the impression with some of the more higher status symbols like the rose, even though the rose itself is not protected, one should not wear it if they are not a rose.
So, you know, you could talk to Michelle about that, and she would tell you how that is not true. There actually is a very specific rose that is protected for the Order of the Rose, and there's, and this is and that's. Yes, that is ultimately true. If you're not a rose and you wear a rose, people will go, "Oh, are you a rose?" And that's going to cause some problems. It's not forbidden. Again, you can do it, but you're going to have some. In our kingdom, probably shouldn't wear a lion in our kingdom. Doesn't mean it's protected, doesn't mean you can't, but you shouldn't.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And so Robert responded about the chivalry oath on chat. He said the initial oath is the oath to the SCA through the representative of the crown. Second oath is if the candidate chooses oath of chivalry, which is the personal oath, and this is often custom oath created by the candidate. Master of Arms are only required to give the oath once upon being elevated. There swear again, but it's become tradition to do so. And that's actually, so the citation is, a lot of people feel that you don't have to give an oath to the society every coronation, that once you've done it, you've done it. But it is not completely, but it's become our tradition to not do this. Any other questions? It happened at an earlier stage. These are our grant levels. Oh, I forgot one thing. On our peerages, I forgot to tell you what we call them. So our knights, we're going to call Sir, everybody else is a master or mistress. There are other titles that you can give them as well, but those are the most common titles. So if you went to a group of laurels, you could say, good masters and mistresses, could I please have your attention? And they're gonna know you're talking to them. And there's lots of other titles used a lot. There are also gender neutral titles for the peerages. It just gets to be a lot. So grant levels. So we have the Order of Centurions. That's your armored fighting. You have the Order of the Iris of Merits. That's for your arts and sciences. Order of the Star of Merit. That's for service. Order of the Blade of Merit. That's for rapier fighting. White Scarf of Anstiora. I put this here because one, recently been changed, which means recently the last 5 years, and two, in our kingdom, this award is a highly respected award, and so it is deserving to be in a different place because it's kind of different. It's kind of different. Order of the Golden Lance is for equestrian. So now we can see that we start to have equestrian and Order of the Arc d'Or, which is for archery. We also have a blank grant of arms. I'm told not to give blank grant of arms anymore, so I think society has stocked those, but I can't remember for sure. For these people who have these awards are honorable lord or lady or laird or something along those lines, except for the white scars, which are dons and doñas. So also the other thing with these, yeah, and as Orazio points out, some of the white scars of Anstiora, they received it before it got changed to well, it's now on the award because they received it at the time it was a grant level. And most of these have a ribbon that go with it. It's a woven ribbon. I didn't include pictures of all these because it gets to be a lot, but most of these, how you can tell is that somebody wears a woven ribbon on either their arms or on their legs. Antonio just asked, so are there any questions? Sorry, are there any questions about the grants awards before I go on? Okay. Now we're at the Armigerous Awards. I'm actually going to start at the bottom of these sets of awards. I put them in this order because, again, I tried to keep it in the order of the peerages because I thought that way it was more one-to-one. I'm going to anybody's going to receive. It's really, what it's for is being part of the community. It's, you know, you helped out, you do a lot of fighting, you help, you know, go to the demos. It's being part of the community and being part of the group. So that's usually the first award. Not always, but it's usually the first award that people are given. We have the Compass Rose, which is also an Armigerous Award. These people are the ones who help do things for children. So they might be do combat, etc. Yeah, Orazio says, AOA, chanting starts up in the distance, one of us, and that's exactly right. That it's saying that you belong here, and thank you for being here, we appreciate it. Sable Comet. A Sable Comet is received for service to a group that are not a barony or province. So Hellsgate, which is part of our barony, it's, you know, our stronghold, they can receive a sable comment for Hellsgate. We can receive a sable comment for Hellsgate. You then also have baronial and province service award. So every barony and province has their own service award that is an Armigerous award. In Bryn, it's the Order of the Dreg of Bryn. We have the King's Gauntlet or Queen's Glove. That's received from the Crown for exceptional service during their reign. So it's somebody who went above and beyond helping occasionally. It was that they were with them at every event and did a lot of work. And it's specifically for the king or for the queen. It can be for sitting gate a lot. It can be running gate. It could be doing lists. It could be service on the web. It can be for all kinds of service. It's only received once. So once you received a sable crane, you don't receive a sable crane for other services. Other kingdoms will give that service AOA award for different kinds of service. Our kingdom does not. Sable thistle, that's received for an art or science form. You can receive a sable thistle and the sable thistle cooking. You can receive it in all different kinds of art form. And then the sable talent is for combat activities. And again, you can receive it for all the different kinds of combat activity. Heavy, rapier, archery, equestrian. If there comes with another one, we'll add it. But that's what we have right now. Any questions about our Midjoist awards? All right. So, other awards, I didn't list one because I just didn't. It's hard to describe. But these are the rest of our Onstura awards. The Lion of Onstura, this is actually a very prestigious award. It is given, they're the defenders of the dream. The crown can only give one a reign. So there's not that many, obviously. And if they don't give the one, they don't get to go in later and say, oh, I wanted to give this person. It has to be during their reign. They have a privilege that nobody else has, which is they can interrupt court. The crown and during court and say, Your Majesties, I need to interrupt court, and they have that right. They're the only ones who have the right to interrupt court. Everyone else needs to be called into court to say things. We also have several non-Armigerous. They're all there. I don't really want to go through all of them, but it's for our fighting, our combat activities, our service, our arts and science, and specific service to the crown. We also have a series of youth awards in the kingdom. We have the Rising Star, which is the team, and then you have specific ones for the specific areas that they can then get, and those have been relatively recent that those have been added. And then we have the Amicitia of Onstura, and they're for out of kingdom people who have given a lot of service to our kingdom, and so that's kind of what they are. And those are people who you see in your kingdom all the time, and they don't live here because they're actually from Glenavon or they're from Callantyre or whatever. Baronial awards. So we talked about the Dreg of just like our peerages and most of our combat grant level awards, our Dreg of Bryn is a polling order. And what that means is that the Baron and Baroness, or with the Onstura awards, the King and Queen, call a meeting and they ask the members of that order to express the people who they think are ready for that order, to give a vote on how ready they think that person is, etc. does not do anything other than ask the crown or baron and baroness. You don't have to do anything other than ask the order their opinion. So just because the whole order voted no on a person or yes on a person doesn't mean that that is how the baron and baroness or the king and queen are going to act on that. But they have to ask. So that's a little strange, but it and all to their excellencies. They're the ones that their excellencies will go to when they see a problem in the barony. They're the ones that help out when they see an issue. If they see an issue, the Dragobrins are the ones that go and just fix it. They don't go, oh, well, that's not my problem. They go and they fix the problem. At least they should. Our other baronial award is Cross Flurry, and is for combat. So one of the things for our baronial awards that we is for the fact that you're on the field. You're somebody who encourages people to go out. You're somebody who is constantly making things exciting. So you may only fight mediocre, but you get the other baronial members out there, and that's what it's for. You also have the Muse, which is for arts and sciences. We have our Golden Martlet, which is for service. We have our Silver Chalice, which is for persona. It's sort of like the lion, but it's more persona than our lion. And some of that has to do with the fact that the Silver Chalice can be given as many times as their excellencies wish to. And so it just depends. And then we also have a Baronial Youth Award, which is the Dragon Egg. So that's a lot of awards that we have. It's a lot of things that the Baron and Baroness, the King and Queen, if we end up with the Principality, the Prince and Princess, whatever they want to be called, it's a lot of things for people to keep an eye on. So that's part of the reason why when y'all do the class, it's a lot. And so the more information that they get with this, what the person's doing, you know, if you send a Baron and Baroness a message saying, I really think that Myfanwy really deserves a cross flurry, and this is why. I'm just using myself because I can pick on myself. And this is why, and she's done this, this, and this, and this. Well, they might read it and go, oh yeah, definitely she needs a cross flurry. Or they might read it and go, oh no, she's done so much more that she really needs to get the Talon, or, you know. And so even if you feel nervous about writing to the option to figuring out how to recognize our populace. They can only recognize the populace that they get told about. I mean, they see a lot, but it gets to be a lot to remember everything. And so please recommend people. So I think that's actually my last slide. Oh, no. Oh yeah, there was this slide. Oh, wait, go back. I found this slide and I thought it was really awesome. Because if you notice, it breaks down the awards in a way that can, you can kind of see how at the bottom it has all the kind of other awards. The youth awards then are non-armigerous, armigerous, grant, and then then peerages. So I thought this was a really great slide. And it was off of the baronial page that I found it. So thank you, Colfina, for putting it there, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great representation of how it works together. And so I highly recommend that if you're still reading it going, I don't quite understand how this works, go look at this. Column, it keeps the stress in one column, it keeps the fighting in another column. It's really a great slide. So I was like, oh wow. So yeah, it's off the baronial web page, and it was really, really good. So, all right, so that is the end of my presentation this time. So we have a few more minutes. Are there any questions or things that people want to talk about?
Why do the lions, I mean, what is the, or what was the reasoning between only one lion per reign?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I know that I think that actually came from Atenvelt. I believe that that was Atenvelt's rule, and Anstiora just kept that. Other kingdoms also have a similar, I know that Midrealm has a similar kind of Defender of the Dream type thing, and they also only do one per reign, but they don't have the right to interrupt court. Well, I believe Atenvelt and Anstiora they really just copied Atenvelt, but I don't really know. I'm like, oh, I don't know that one. I mean, I could ask, but I don't know.
Oh, definitely. One major thing that I definitely know for certain that you guys did differently from the Atenvelt Award is that you made it specifically non-Americus, even though it's high status. Because with ours, it's automatically a grant if you don't have one already, and you're automatically ranked above everybody else with a grant. And
oh, that's interesting to know. I was like, I didn't actually know that. That's kind of cool.
Right, you're like, if you're not a peer, either royal or bestowed, that's the top thing you can be.
Yeah. Yes, I plan on posting. I'm planning on posting the PowerPoint to the group because I was hoping yeah, I was just going to go ahead and share it. I don't know if it'd be best to share it with the video or just to share it directly on the Bryn Gwlad page. So Catherine or Orazio, if y'all can let me know which way would be great. Yes, there's definitely some to do with the lion of keeping it prestigious. I know that when to change the white scarf of Little Wing, it was to help with that prestige. So I know that there's something to do with keeping the prestige, but I don't really know all of the story behind it. I think I would ask, I will ask a couple people because I'm actually kind of curious, because I really actually don't know, and I don't even think that Pug and Avery necessarily know. I think that would have to go back to Carl and ask Carl what the history of that is. So. Are there other questions?
I've got a couple of questions, if I may. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Question 2, or I have a couple of questions. One, regarding spurs, are those the wearing of actual spurs? Let's say you have riding boots with spur leathers and spurs. Is that a big no-no, or how does that work out?
So when you're riding your horse, of course it's okay to be wearing your spurs while you're riding your horse. And however, if you're out of the equestrian area and you're going into court, you shouldn't have your spurs on because you are not a knight. It's one of those, if you forgot, that's one thing. Everybody go, oh yeah, okay, understood. You're on the horse, you forgot to take them off. But if you're going into court and you're going to be entering court, it's better to take it off. Now, we have some equestrian friends that are wearing their spurs and they ride their horse up to court, and if they have to get off the horse to go to court, then they're not going to get fussed at. And you're not going to get fussed at, but it's frowned upon. Okay.
And as far as roses go, I see the Order of the Rose graphic here, and it's a circle of, looks like 8 roses, red roses. Are roses in general off limits in any kind of design, or just that particular?
So a wreath of roses is definitely off limits. The wreath of roses is reserved for the Order of the Rose.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, a rose, and you might have been having, I know you're at work a lot of times, so you might have had to be muted.
Yeah, I think you froze.
Prohibited, but did I cut out during that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so a rose is not necessarily prohibited, but it needs to be done with caution. If you're wearing a dress with a bunch of roses on it, you know, because even though they're not in a wreath, that's going to make people look at it weird. If you're wearing a dress with a small rose because it's part of your heraldry, then you're going to probably be okay. But you have to just be careful.
Okay.
Definitely. It's fair to also say some of it's like, you know, because some people it's like, oh, I'm going to wear a red belt because it goes with my outfit.
Right.
You could, but you're going to spend a lot of time answering the same question, which is, who's your knight? And you're going to go, I don't have one. I like a red belt. And someone might give you a hard time, and they don't. They really shouldn't. But it's going to be a lot of having to deal with everyone going, are you a squire?
Right. So I didn't talk about the colors of belts at all because those aren't technically awards. But yes, so, you know, wearing a red belt is definitely going to have people ask you questions. Wearing a yellow belt is going to have people asking you questions. Wearing a green belt is going to have people asking you questions. It's allowed. You're not prohibited. Just be prepared for the questions.
Right. Okay. So let's say a large black rose on a cloak is not the same. Is not going to. People may ask questions, but it's not protected. It's not like a wreath of roses like the Order of the Rose. So
correct.
You may get questions, but you're not violating anything.
Correct. So
especially if you add it with some other heraldic device.
Right.
Then it's going to be much more
clearer.
More clear.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're going to have a rose and like if you have a rose underneath the bridge, I'm just trying to think of something, you know, a rose underneath the bridge and you have the bridge there and then the rose is underneath. Okay, that's going to be pretty obvious. It has a black rose, people might get a little, but it's black rose and then you have, I don't know. It's just going to depend a lot. It's intent.
And you mentioned yellow belts.
Yeah.
What's with yellow?
A yellow belt is traditionally in our kingdom a symbol of you being a protege to a pelican. It is not reserved. It is just tradition. So if you, and it's not just our kingdom, lots of kingdoms have that tradition. So if you wear a yellow, somebody might say, who is your pelican? Avery tells a story pretty regularly about how he ended up becoming Robert McFarlane's protege because he wore a yellow belt and he got tired of people asking. So he threw Robert under the bus and then Robert said, okay, fine. You want to say this? Now you are. So just be prepared. It's not, I mean, I've worn a red belt and I have had people say, who are you squire to? And I'm like, I look at him and go, really? You know, just be prepared. It's, you know, be prepared to answer the questions graciously. And
okay. What about a black belt or a black sash?
Black belt's not reserved for anything. Black sash isn't reserved to anything. The only colors that cause consistent problems in our kingdom are red, yellow, and green. And then white is, you know, white is prohibited.
What does green signify?
Green signifies that you're an apprentice to a laurel.
Okay.
And these are all student relationships?
And those are all student relationships. So an apprentice is a student to a laurel. A protege is a student to a pelican. Knight. And that's what it signifies. And you also will see for student relationships, you'll see a red scarf showing a student to a white scarf. and you'll see a red collar showing a student to a Master of Defense. But I didn't put those in here because those aren't technically awards. Those are relationships. And I really sometimes get frustrated when people go, oh, well, they were awarded a Squire Belt. No, they were not awarded a Squire Belt. they have a relationship of being a Squire. Other questions?
I'm going to ask one other thing about regarding colors. Let's say that you have a sash that's 2 or more colors, not just a white or a red, but it's like a red and black together. Are we still looking at something that's problematic? Okay.
No, if you have a red and black belt, if it's very clearly both, it's fine. A mixed belt. I will say,
where tablet weaving can come in real useful.
Like that's where tablet weaving comes in. My husband actually had a red belt before he was a Squire that was red and yellow and gray, and and so he whatever. Now, if you have like very distinctly a yellow and a green, and there's yellow and then there's green, that could signify that you're a double student. But if it's mixed in yellow and green, nobody's going to think twice about it.
All righty, thank you.
And also, since it's not an official award, like someone might go, "Oh, who's your laurel and who's your knight?" Be like, "Nope, it's just a mixed belt," and they'll go, "Okay."
That's really, I'm afraid of anybody. I know people go, really? I'm like, really? Just come talk to me. If I'm there, come talk to me and say, this person really made me feel bad, and I will talk to them and talk to you and try to figure out what happened and how to fix it, because there's nobody I'm afraid to talk to anymore. I didn't pull up pictures of the baronial awards. Kofina, and we're getting close to time.
The website has pictures of not like the thing you can wear, not the regalia, but it does have images that correspond to each of the awards. Okay. If somebody wants to send me pictures of all the regalia, I'll happily add those. I just didn't have them. So you can look at the like images or I don't know, design that's associated with each award, but I don't have the regalia on there.
Well,
if there is any, there may not be.
Our baronial regalia is kind of all over the place, to be fair. But okay, I was just like, I didn't show those, which was kind of not the best foresight. But is there anything else that we should discuss, or should we call this meeting done, as it being 8:24?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for teaching the class.
It was actually fun because it made me work on this PowerPoint presentation, which made me think about things a little bit closer. So I was like, y'all actually probably got a better class with me having to do this virtually than in person.
Yes, maybe she.
Well, thank you. So,
Robin, just a quick follow-up. You came in and out so often, unfortunately, while I've been listening in. It's all right to seek you out for protocol and levels of addressing and all that kind of thing when needed, right?
Yes, please. Feel free to email me anytime. I'm on Facebook. My email address, which I didn't put on this PowerPoint presentation, but I can add it before I upload it. My email address is Myfanwy, so MYFANWY. But you have to get past my first name. So yeah, feel free to contact me either via Facebook Messenger or via email. And once we are back into meeting in person, please feel free to come and talk to me. I might sometimes appear busy, or I might sometimes appear to be cranky, but really I'm not. I'm just tired or whatever it is. Thank you, Colfina, for typing it out. So yeah, please, 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 please reach out to me.
I'll seek you out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll definitely seek you out.
Yes, great. All right.
Oh, wonderful. I just want to echo our thanks, our big, huge thank you, Mistress Myfanwy, for this. You're right, the slides are great, so I'm glad that those worked out. We will work on getting this up online and getting the PowerPoint available as well. And we know that's a good point, because I do think we have some PowerPoints from some of the other classes as well. We'll try to get those up. So okay, sorry, I had to hit a different unmute button. I think at this point, if our host wants to actually stop recording, I think the class is finished. If I could just take